the House orders that says that a minister cannot mislead the House. The Prime Minister has said, yes, that he categorically assures the House that Treasury or other departmental advice was not withheld, but they haven't actually released anything.
The member will take a seat. The member has been in this House as long as I have, and he knows there are ways of dealing with issues if he is concerned about anyone misleading the House, and it is not by way of a point of order. The honourable member knows that well. We come now to question number 3 in the name of David Garrett.
Mr. Speaker, my question is directed to the Minister of Corrections and asks what cost savings can be achieved through building prefabricated modular units to house prisoners, and when can we expect to see the first prefabricated prison occupied by criminals?
The Honourable Simon Power.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Corrections, I'm advised that the use of prefabricated modular units is one of a number of options being considered to accommodate prisoners. The Corrections Department anticipates modular units will cost approximately half of the $643,000 per bed that it cost when the previous government built its 4 new prisons. If this option is agreed to, the Department expects the first modular unit to be occupied by prisoners on or around September 2012.
Mention, Mr. Speaker.
David Garrett.
Can the Minister confirm that the prefab prison, when it's built, will not have underfloor heating, plasma TVs in every cell, expensive gymnasium facilities, and that criminals in those facilities will be required to work?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Simon Power.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Corrections, I can advise there will be no underfloor heating or plasma TVs in a new prison. Inmates will have appropriate exercise facilities rather than the type of gymnasium I've seen at one of the previous government's new prisons, which seemed flash enough to charge a joining fee and yearly membership. And as for work in prisons, the government has pledged to boost the number of prisoners learning industry-based skills through the Corrections Inmate Employment Scheme by 1,000 prisoners by 2011.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
To the Minister, can the Minister assure the House that these prefabricated modular units will provide at least the same level of security as current prison facilities? And further, given that the current lifespan of prisons is over 100 years, will these modular units provide a similar level of durability so that the taxpayer doesn't end up paying twice, once for these units and a second time for more substantial replacements?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Simon Power.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Corrections, I'm confident that the new measures introduced by this government will meet many of the standards that we would expect from our prison system, including the matters raised by the member opposite. Mr. Speaker, can I tell you or tell the House that we will act on measures to keep our prison system safe? It will not take this government 9 years to introduce a corrections amendment bill.
Sandra Gowdy.
To the Minister, has the Minister received any other feedback on the cost savings from building prefabricated modular units?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Simon Power.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Corrections, yes. The Leader of the Opposition has criticised the government's plan to save taxpayer dollars, stating that, quote, if you're short-sighted enough to build something cheap and nasty, you'll be rebuilding it before very long. Quote, when you're building a public institution, you build to make it last, quote. That's a surprising claim, Mr. Speaker, when the 4 prisons built under Labor, where costs blew out by $500 million, have already racked up $9 million in repair bills.
Come now to question number 4 in the name of the Honourable Annette King.
Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister of Social Development and Employment. What reports, if any, has she received on current and projected unemployment rates in New Zealand?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
I have received a number of reports on unemployment. The latest official figures show unemployment responding to the economic downturn at 4.6%. I have seen reports on how unemployment will rise, predicting from 4.4% to an extreme of 14% and many numbers in between. There is no doubt that the rate will continue to rise due to the economic storm buffeting the world. This government's focus is to blunt the sharp edges.
Mr Speaker, supplementary question. Was she invited to the hastily arranged Cabinet Summit in mid-January to discuss jobs, knowing the 170,000 people predicted by Treasury to be unemployed over the next 3 years will be her portfolio responsibility? And if so, why didn't she attend?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
We assure that Member of Parliament that that was a small meeting of economic ministers, and let me assure the member that I am meeting with my colleagues daily to talk about the impacts of this economy and the effect that that's having on New Zealanders' jobs and how we will blunt in those sharp edges.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Annette King.
Mr Speaker, which statement is correct? Her comments on Radio New Zealand on the 27th of January stating that the number of job initiatives are ready to go, or her quote in her sole press release on employment in the last 3 months on the 5th of February saying the Job Summit will investigate job initiatives? If they are ready to go, when will the 105,000 unemployed people see something other than platitudes and excuses at a talk fest in late February?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, there are, of course, so many initiatives happening with this government that it's hard to sort of even know where to start. Unfortunately, the last government took a head-in-the-sand sort of approach to preparing for the downturn. In fact, in March last year, unemployment was at 3.7%, but when this government came in, we were already well over 4%. So in just 3 months, you've seen the government have kicked off a major jobs and growth plan to help New Zealand navigate through these turbulent times. On Labour's watch, unemployment continued to rise with 3 consecutive terms. The most we got was 3 consecutive quarters. OK, should we do this again? 3 consecutive quarters unemployment rose under that Labour government. And we did not see a jobs and growth plan. In fact, what New Zealanders will remember was a promise of a mini-budget that had no details attached to it. What they are seeing from National is a clear plan forward for New Zealanders to keep their jobs.
Order. Order. Before I take the next summary, can I just remind ministers question time is not a time for speeches. Joe Goodhue.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question to the Minister is this.
Joe Goodhue.
What is the government doing to manage rising unemployment and to help ordinary New Zealanders struggling with the impact of the economy?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
This National Government has a firm jobs and growth plan in place to help ordinary Kiwis combat these tough times. We've been working with employers to squeeze the maximum jobs out of the labour market. We've been planning to keep people in work, even if that means some reduced hours. We will be making CPI adjustments for benefits and national super. We've cranked up frontline services within my ministry to deal with the increased demand. The Prime Minister is holding a National Jobs Summit at the end of this month. We're holding regional job